What's on, where, and when. It's the Talk of Nelson. NBS Talk Nelson.
At NBS, we believe in banking for life. For over 160 years, we've been a trusted banking provider for generations of locals like you. We know our clients personally and build long-term relationships with them, offering flexibility by giving our staff freedom to make quick decisions to put them first. Experience banking for life with NBS.
The Mako Rugby Roundup.
Yes. Welcome to the Mako Rugby Roundup. I'm Chris Butler, and welcome back to Les Edwards. Got the colours on today, Les.
Yeah, looking forward to the weekend's game.
It must have been after that performance on Saturday, which we'll talk about. We're thrilled to bring you all things rugby in the top of the South. Before we dive in, a big shout out to our venue sponsor, the Turf Hotel, Stan and the team, Main Road Stoke. And don't forget, next week it's the full Monty. They must be looking pretty good now. Been doing the final touches to the routine. You can buy tables, check out their Facebook page, and money going towards Cancer Society. In this episode, we're going to be covering the first 15 rugby, some good news on that front, international rugby, and some breaking news, Les, we've just heard, extraordinary stuff. And, of course, the Mako season continues, and we'll review that great game on Saturday, but, of course, another one coming up this weekend. We're very pleased to have with us Mako 150 flanker Braden Stewart. Welcome to the podcast, Braden.
No, thanks for having me, guys.
Great to have you here. You're better known around the local rugby fraternity as Calf or Calfy.
That's the one, yeah.
So go on then. How are you allowed to tell us?
Yeah, mate. No, it's not much of a story. The old man also played for Tasman. His nickname was Bull. So
right.
It was one I got pretty early and it stuck. So
Yeah.
it's one I get called Braden. It's actually a little bit weird to me. So
Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Always
It's
been
like
that.
my grandma's about the only person that'll call me Braden. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was the size of your calf.
Nah, it's not that, mate. They're pretty small.
So the old bull and the young calf, eh?
Yeah, that's right. And big family history. So we're going to actually be talking about that during the show, about a quite unique stat, I guess you could say, Les, about your family and its association with local rugby. So let's first of all get into first 15 rugby, and it was the premiership final, and geez, pretty close, but good news for Nelson College.
Yes, it's always great to win a UC championship, and College did that, eking out a win, a hard-fought battle against Christchurch Boys High School, but winning by 20 points to 17. Managed to watch a lot of it on a live stream. Thank you, Nelson College Rugby, and for putting that on. It was a tough game, Braden. Sorry, Carpy.
That's right.
I don't want to be your grandmother.
He won't be used to that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. But it was a hard fought game, and just delighted for College, for Jono Phillips, the head coach, the players, the year 13s going out on a winning note, but more rugby to come.
Yeah, that's right. So tell us about that. Well, first of all, just make the comment. I happened to be catch it on Facebook Live, and it was 17. Might have been 17-10, and College just scored a try, and I thought, geez, that's quite tight. But then when I look back further, 20-17. So Canterbury obviously got one back, and then we must have got a penalty or something of that nature. But geez, close.
It was close.
Yeah.
And they needed home ground advantage, I think, on this one. If they'd played this down in Christchurch, it might have been a different story, because the Christchurch team is very, very good.
Yeah.
But I'm just, again, delighted for the College to finish the year and a couple of college careers on a high note.
Well, last week we talked about what if, and they've done that now. Where to from here? So what happens, Les?
Yeah, well, now there's a game to determine the best team in the South Island. So Nelson College are hosting Southland Boys High School, 11 a.m. this Saturday on the front field. They get to host the game. And the winner of this will then compete in the New Zealand top 4.
Steve Mitchell must have mixed thoughts, wasn't it? Because he went down to Southland, he's pumped them all up. The schoolboys won the championship last year.
Yes.
And of course he comes back to his hometown, and now we've got to take on Southland, which I presume will be a very good side.
Yeah, so Steve will be there, no doubt. And yeah, he will have mixed emotions, but yeah, his heart now will definitely be with Nelson College.
Yeah, be interesting. Let's talk internationals. And before we get to the big news, Australia went down again to South Africa, 30-12. I mean, the rain just absolutely poured down in Perth, didn't it?
Yep.
And so that did even things up. And for me, for a lot of the game, I thought Australia were quite competitive, apart from the fact that they keep dropping the ball, or if they did, one of their forwards made a break through the line, there was no one there to support them, and they got the turnover. I just thought a better effort from Australia, but in the end, South Africa way too strong, especially with their forward pack. Did you happen to catch the game, Carthy?
Yeah, I watched parts of it. I thought, like you said, Australia did stay in it for longer, and I think seeing Australia do that's always good for us. I mean, we play them a lot. We want them to be decent. But South Africa, it's a different beast. That forward pack, just the size of it and the mobilities, yeah, it's hard to keep up with. So it'll be interesting to see how we go against them. I mean, I think our pack will be a lot smaller, but hopefully we can front up a little bit.
Yeah, I just thought obviously a bit more of a conservative game from South Africa this year, probably because of the conditions, Les. But they. Towards the end there, they just really consolidated with their tight five. That it was really through the forwards, wasn't it, Les?
Yeah, so lots of changes for South Africa compared to the first test.
Yeah.
But the scorelines ended up not dissimilar to the results in the first and the second. So, look, South African rugby is in a real good space at the moment, and I think that they will be very pleased with this hit out going into hosting New Zealand in a couple of weekends' time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and well, let's kick off with the big news. I was driving on the way here, and I just caught this headline. Be going to you very shortly to talk to our local reporter who is attending a press conference with Razor Robinson about the fact that Leon McDonald is no longer with the All Blacks. And I didn't even think I heard it right, and then it wasn't on the main headlines. And then they, straight out of the headlines, they went to it and interviewed the reporter. And it was just simply, look, it's been going on for a couple of weeks. So it's not just a sudden thing. And Razor's comment was, he was obviously didn't give too much detail, but it almost felt like that we've tried a few things and we just can't agree on a few philosophical things, And then I thought, okay, was it him and Razor? I mean, they've played together, they've coached together under 20s and 21s. Pretty much he was the first coach that he got on board. And then I thought, well, actually, is it him and Razor? Maybe it's to do with, one or two of the other coaches there. So I think everyone's in a bit of shock, aren't they?
Yes, well, it is breaking news, so we don't know the full background story. A lot has been said about the fact that there are a lot of coaches in the current All Black setup, and there are two backline coaches, and Jason O'Halloran and Leon McDonald. So maybe there is a difference in philosophy about how the backs sort of play the game, but that will all come out in the wash. But Leon McDonald is a very good coach, and Carvey, you've been coached by him. What's your take on Leon?
Oh, he's actually a bit of a wizard, Leon. He was one of my first coaches for Tasman. He was actually first coach to give me a contract. So I've always had pretty good relationship with Leon. I mean, the things he did at Tasman were great. Him and the likes of Goody, they changed the way we played, but more innovation. I always thought Leon was a great coach, and I thought he was the right fit for the All Blacks. So hearing that,
you're a bit surprised.
Yeah, I obviously don't know. There's so many what ifs. anything could have happened, but it definitely surprised me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you've been involved with coaching, Kafi, but in a setup like the Mako and let's say the All Blacks, and when you've got your co-coaches who are obviously going to be having their say around the table about selections and lineups and what happens, if there's a bit of a disagreement, in your experience, can you see that like someone like KK will just override it and say, right, got to make a decision here, this is what we're doing? Is that generally what happens?
Yeah, well, I think that the head coach does have the last say. He's the head coach, but I haven't seen a lot of disagreement to the point where someone wants to leave, or if that is the case. But I guess the head coach has the last say. I don't know if he's wanted to do something different and they want to keep it the same or what, but I guess that'll all come out. Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's a bit of a shock, to be fair.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And the other thing is it may not come out because
yeah.
they might want to not go into the dirty. Obviously, there'll be the Bush Telegraph and probably a bit of local knowledge. These will be on the phone, I'm sure. Yeah, just interesting though, Les, isn't it? That, I mean, Robinson's obviously a forward. He'd have a bit of an idea of what he's seen in a back line, but he'll be looking to those back coaches to come to him. And when that's my guess, is that you've got a difference in philosophy in between two coaches. The other thing I wondered, and I know I'm throwing it out there, is around a change in philosophy, because Leon McDonald said we're going to throw the rule book out and do something different. But in actual fact, it hasn't been. It's been the same selections almost to a degree, although different on Saturday, slightly differently. To do with tactics. Same personnel. Will Jordan goes onto the wing. Granted, they put Clark on the other wing, but they kept Bowden at fullback, who has been playing well, granted, and not a lot of changes amongst the forwards. And you'd have to say that if Foster was still the coach, he might have selected a fairly similar side. So is it that Leon's going, not a lot of changes here, lads?
Yeah.
And I want to try something different.
Yeah, absolutely. You used the word innovative, Kafi, and Leon is like that, and maybe he wanted to change it up. Look, at the end of the day, a head coach has to go with what he trusts, right? And he clearly trusts Scott Hansen, and he clearly trusts Jason Ryan, and he's got O'Halloran, who's in charge of the defence. So maybe the philosophy was all around how to attack, and Leon is and Razor have come to Rangi and Razor have come to an agreement. So let's wait and see, and we can talk more next week. But yeah, it's big news. It
is big news. And the other thing that crops to my mind is Tony Brown for South Africa. Innovative, trying something new. Is Leon going, we got to do something different here, because this South African side, just interesting though, isn't it?
Yes.
And to go to that extent though, to go to such to the point of that kind of disagreement so early on in the piece, you would have thought maybe there was a bit of a sit down earlier in but that's happened. That's human nature, isn't it?
But on the back of a pretty decent win against Argentina, 42 points to 10 on the weekend. The New Zealand side absolutely.
Well, yes, we should talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely hit their straps, didn't they? And it was a very dominant performance. Some clear standouts, but the change in the mindset and the approach to the game.
Yeah,
much more of a test match approach by New Zealand in this one. They just kept the foot on the throat for much longer. Didn't play Super Rugby style footy. And it all paid off. It was an impressive win. So something to take to South Africa on the plane.
What were your thoughts on the game, Kafi?
I think they did exactly what we all thought they were going to do, to be fair. I thought, we've got the team, it's exactly that, the mindset. Always good team's going to bounce back after a loss like that. And probably a loss not much of us were expecting. But the way they did come back, I think it was always going to be hard for them at Eden Park. I think that's 50 in a row now.
Yeah, it is now, yeah.
So, I think the likes of Ardie Sabir to step up. You know, his first game as captain didn't go as planned, but then to perform like that the next week just shows. I think he is a good leader, and yeah, like Lee said, they just stuck to what we're good at. Didn't throw the ball around too silly. Set piece was better. Did the job.
Yeah, and I think our, one of the things we've talked about is our forward dominance. And in fact, someone pointed out to me that we talked about perhaps we're a little bit lightweight, but in fact our scrum was heavier than Argentina's, I think it was. And the fact that our forwards did step up physically, we stood up. We potentially didn't break the line too much, but certainly defence-wise, we put them on the back foot.
Yeah, it's matching that Argentina passion, That passion they had in the first game. I think we, I don't know if we were rattled by it, but we just didn't quite match it. And you see the looks on those boys' faces, those Argentina people.
We talked about that.
They're a different breed, and yeah, like I said, to bounce back like that just shows we are a classy outfit.
And then, of course, it all bodes well for the back line, doesn't it? Because when you set that platform, there's just so much more space or a chance to give it a go. TJ bounced back. I wasn't a fan of TJ. I didn't think he played well last week, but he stepped up this week. And a bit of innovation down the blind side, put Will Jordan in, who just backed his wheels and away he went. So Clark got one, so, it just opens things up a bit more. They always talk about that, don't they?
I thought the snipe that Perenara did was pure magic, and then the hold the pass and then get it around the tackler into Jordan's hands was just first class rugby. Our Mako players all played well. Tyrell Lomax got in a good shift. Ethan Blackadder was outstanding. Just such a high work rate and very, very effective in everything he did, both sides of the ball. And Will Jordan, great to have him back. 33 tries and 33 tests. I mean, the guy's
he's a freak, isn't he?
yeah. You love having him around when he's in camp?
Even just when he come back, he hasn't played much all year. Just the things they do at training, you just kind of sit back and you're like, oh, like it just looks like he's cruising. He's got so much time. I think he just sums things up, and then as soon as he goes, he goes.
Yeah.
And like does a few things that you're just like, Jesus.
I think he sees things about a second quicker than anyone else on a field. Kind of, it clearly does. He's got time and space.
And you could actually see also, although Mark Talia and Sevier-Reece, to be fair, like to come in. But one of the things I did notice is that it's almost like they set up Will Jordan to be hitting the gap inside, don't they? As soon as he's on the pitch, or all of a sudden they're setting up these angle run plays for him to run through on. And usually it's maybe Bodie might be doing that, but now they set up well. Whereas Mark Talia and Sevier-Reece, to me, they just tend to come in automatically to get hungry for the ball. But Will Jordan, they definitely, I think some of those backline plays, all of a sudden he's in the middle of the park running through the middle of the hole because they know just the pace and what he can bring.
I'd love to see him at fullback for the All Blacks.
That's what we're all waiting for. But to be fair,
I just think,
I
mean, Bodie's been good, don't
he has last couple of games,
But the more Will can get involved in the game, have the ball in his hands, he just makes things happen, And it'll be interesting. I think he will get a shot. Surely or something.
I hope so. And, I just think about the fact that he could potentially be running off Damien McKenzie, who may use him as a decoy and run a hole, but I mean, they're possibly thinking, well, Beauden Barrett and Will Jordan together, that's plus Damien McKenzie. Maybe they're trying to have their cake and eat it. I don't know. But, I'd love to see Will Jordan.
Right now, I'd keep all three players in my starting 15. Now.
But where would you put Bodie?
Oh, I'm keeping him at fullback.
He would.
But at some point, and it's not far away, Jordan's going to have the 15 jersey all to himself. And then we will see some real magic. But he is a world-class winger as well.
Yeah. Well, that's
How
true.
lucky are we?
Well, maybe they're just saying, well, you'll have your day. You'll have your time. And when Bodie hangs up the boots. But
three threats instead of two, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So let's look forward then. Sunday, 1st of September, New Zealand taking on South Africa in Johannesburg at 3 a.m. I will get out of bed for that one. Murray Mexted, heard him being interviewed. He was just talking about the altitude and just how it burns the lungs and what a effort it's going to be for New Zealand. They're likely going to get there as early as possible to try and acclimatate. But he said you just run out of breath. It just burns your lungs. So
Yeah.
tough task.
Yeah, modern science has allowed them to figure out how to handle the trip and altitude, so it's a lot less daunting than it was in Murray's day. They've already left, so they've got a good week to get into training, and but Joburg is always difficult. It's a hell of a fortress there, and it's a very good South African team. So basically at this stage of thinking, man, we're going to have to be good to beat them.
We are. Other comment he said, Carfi, was about size. Big South African men, very physical. Are we going to be able to cope with that? But then some people have mentioned, the World Cup final. They had bomb squads then and traffic lights and all sorts of things, and we almost tipped them up.
It must be daunting when those 6 forwards roll in on that 50-minute mark, and they're all just as big.
They're all giants.
Yeah, like they have an interesting style. They obviously like that contestable play. 9 will kick a lot, and then there's threats in the air. Their forward pack's obviously probably the best in the world. It'll be interesting. I think we can match them in the air. Look after our ruck will be a big one. I think we'll go all right. I think it'll be tight. Always sort of is.
And now, of course, when they get a bit of roam, they've got quite a lethal backline, which they kind of always have, but we've been able to nullify them. But against Australia, they really carved them up. And of course, Tony Brown's brought in a little bit of backline innovation, and then you've got Razi doing the same with the forward pack. But yeah, it was pointed out in that final, there was all the talk about the bomb squad and everything like that. But, when it came push to shove, South Africa certainly didn't have it all their own way. And it comes down to that contestable ball in the ruck, doesn't it? And the forward pack and the defence.
Yeah, I think the contestable kicking game is like real good, very good, one of the best in the world. And I feel like we can fall into that a little bit too when we play them. We start doing it back, and they're real good at it. So the territory is going to be massive, but I'd like to see us not fall into that contestable stuff too much. I mean, there's going to be parts where you do, but I think if we can play our brand against them and not fall into that too much.
Yeah, it's because against Argentina in the second test, a lot better kicking for field position as opposed to shorter midfield contestable kicks. I like that. I think we're better when we're going forward. And our style of wingers that we had, Caleb Clark and Will Jordan, was better suited to the kicking game that we employed in the second one. Hey, anyone can beat anyone on their day, and we're not a small forward pack. Scooter Barrett's back, Sam Darry, Josh Lord. They're not small people.
Front row is big.
The front row's a good size, isn't it? So the forward pack should be okay. It'll just come down to home ground advantage, the way the crowd over there gets in behind their lads, the way the crowd just absolutely gives the visiting team heaps in the lead up to a game. It'll be a real test match. It's going to be magnificent. We can win it.
We'll have that final in the back of our mind too a little bit, I reckon. With a bit of added motivation. So good.
And that final was there to win. It's just a missed penalty kick. Let's not forget that. Right in it.
It's funny, the mindset, because 2 weeks ago, and especially after we lost against Argentina, and then we saw what they did against Australia, a lot of us were thinking there's no way in hell. This week we're thinking, actually, there's a bit of hope there. Argentina versus Australia, that's at La Plata, 11 a.m. That'll be Sunday morning, will it, Les?
Yeah,
presumably.
Sunday 11 a.m.
So South Africa has shown they've beaten France, they've beaten the All Blacks. Every chance they can do this at home, isn't there, against Australia?
I think that's anyone's game, eh? I'm not too sure about that one. I think Aussie are building.
Yes.
They obviously had a
See,
better
I'm not
game,
the only one, Les. I've been saying every week.
Good.
Watch out
Yeah.
for Aussie.
but I always sort of wanted to see Aussie do well because we play them a lot. We probably had to rubber the green over them quite a bit. So I think when Aussie are a better team, it makes us better. Yeah, I'm not too sure who to pick on that one, to be fair. I think that could either go either way, but yeah.
Look,
So
you-
Go on,
I-
go with your heart. You go for Aussie,
I-
and I'll go for Argentina.
yeah, okay, go on then. I'll go for
I
Australia.
was going to say, you can always call it a draw. Yeah, it'll be a good game, but I agree with you that one of the arguments was, South Africa has been away playing in Europe, a lot of their players, and they're looking pretty strong, and we're not. When we don't play against South Africa anymore, and is that affecting us? Oh, obviously after that bounce back, and we'll see this weekend in Johannesburg, but we need Australia to be good, that's for sure. Now we're talking about the All Black effort. Mighty effort in the forward pack. And interestingly, on the game against Canterbury, the Mako versus Canterbury, someone asked me who were the favourites at TAB. And to be honest, I just automatically think Canterbury would be. And is that just Big Brother or whatever? They weren't. You guys were the favourites. So
Yeah.
and my perception was going into that, and when we spoke to Will Butler, that we were the underdogs. There was going to have to be a mammoth effort to tip them over, and then of course the effort that we put in, we matched them in the forwards. We played I just thought across the park, a beautiful game, tipped them up.
Yeah.
So what was your thoughts going into that game?
Yeah, we played a lot with the underdogs. I mean, they've beaten us pretty heavy the last few years. Been involved in one of those in Blenheim, pretty tough pill to swallow. Canterbury's one you always mark in the calendar. Big brother, little brother, sort of. Guess the boys probably extra few percent at training that week. We had a tough week of training. Canterbury's someone you definitely don't take lightly. I mean, I was looking at them at the start of the year thinking on paper it's probably one of the better teams, the whole squad wise. But there was never a time where we didn't think we could win. We had a good week. Our non-23 set us up well. They've been bringing the heat at training, getting around, playing like them. So they set us up great. And then game day, I think we just had an edge to us. Our forward pack was dominant. They like the contestable game too. They play a lot of kicking. We previewed a lot of that, and I think we beat them there. We played a bit of that. We hulked a lot of lineouts, like drives, and I think it wasn't the prettiest one, but it was gutsy. It was great to be a part of.
Yeah, it was enthralling.
Yeah,
Carvey.
it was. I'll be honest, it wasn't the funnest game to play. It
No,
was,
for a
and it was
spectator.
top start, and it was, very stop start. A lot of kicking. One of those games you just grind out. But it was a great feeling, and like I said, Canterbury have had it over us the last couple of years. So to beat Canterbury, it's actually my first time beating Canterbury. Actually playing. So I've been in and around the team, and I've beaten Canterbury, but I haven't been in the 22.
Awesome.
So,
How good for you?
Yeah, no, it was a long time coming, but it's one of those ones that change your room after the games, sort of look around and see the smiles on everyone's faces.
And I think from my perception, Les, be interesting to take your take on the game. It's just the forward pack played brilliantly, and that set up our back line, who I thought made fantastic decisions at the right time, including Willie Avilli, right from the get-go when he got the first ball at 22. He woofed it down quite a tight, down the sideline into their territory where no up and unders, nothing, just his control of the kicking game. Will Butler, I thought, had a great game. They just controlled the game, I felt. They did the right things at the right time.
Yeah. Oh, look, the forward pack with a key, because lot of crusaders on both sides, and they would look at each other and they think, we got to win this battle, right? And Quinton Strange led them superbly. Quinny was an amazing 80-minute athlete for the Mako. And then you had William Harvilli playing the best game I've seen from him, and his driving of the game. He drove you around that park superbly. As forwards, and you got on to the park, as forwards, you know, it must have been quite an armchair ride because you never, ever had to go racing back too much, did you?
Yeah, a few of us were actually talking about it, like, it's one of the best kicking displays for touch we've actually seen. Like, he just had the ball on a string. He was on that left side. He just had a nice wee fade and it was going out deep. It's cool for me to see Willie playing the way he is. He did it in pre-season as well. I've known Willie for a while. He's a good kid, and it's cool to see how mature he's gotten. His voice in the group now.
He's a game
He's a leader. He's still a young kid too, you know. But it's cool to see how much he's grown.
A couple other mentions I'd give. Ryan Coxon gave that team, because we had a few problems on the loosehead side. But Ryan Coxon put in a 71-minute effort, and he just worked hard all day and got off the ground and was a real good grunt forward, I thought.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy Tabanawai with his running and B his tackling. I mean,
that's right.
That must give you such a lift, doesn't
That
it?
tackling at the end was like, you know, as a forward, you're getting deep into the game, you're feeling it. But if you see your winger fly up the line,
Yeah, that's right.
it's not just once either. It's like 2 or 3 times. And he set the tone with his first carry too. They kicked it long to him, and he just busted. Like,
and actually, if I was a forward and I saw him coming, I'd be probably going the other way.
And I think they did.
yeah, he's a freak. He's so powerful.
And a good central club mate, eh?
Oh yeah, he loves it. It's he's been involved in a few super teams where they sort of finished the year early, and he's literally begging Tasman, "Can I play for Central? Can I play for Central?" He's awesome to have. You see what he does in Super Rugby. Times it by about 10 in the club. It's pretty cool to watch.
And lastly, let's not forget the defensive effort.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because there was some great defensive moments, at least 3 saving tackles on the try line. One by Finlay Christie, who again played 80. Just outstanding strength to be able to stop them from scoring. So, look, a famous victory. Can I say that? It was a famous victory.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You think so?
Yeah.
And the club and I picture the shed was so buoyant afterwards.
Yeah.
A great win.
Must make mention, our FPC ladies, they took on North Harbour Hibiscus, and again a tough match up there, 41-5. And I did actually watch a bit of that game. What are your thoughts, Les?
Didn't get to see much of it at all,
Yeah.
but I just feel that the ladies, it's going to be a tough year. You know, there's 3.5 teams contributing to this Mako side, plus some Canterbury support. So what they've got to do is just enjoy their rugby, keep their heads up, and it doesn't get any easier for them, unfortunately. Off to Otago Spirit on Sunday to play a game there. But you've got a sister who's in the squad, and have you talked to her about how are they enjoying it?
Yeah, they are enjoying it. I think you're right with there's not many club teams to pick from, you know. There's 3 or 4, I think. And they do have a little bit of help, but I think in the games I've watched, there's times where they have a chance and they just let those little moments slip. Whether it's hot on attack, losing a ball, poor set piece, just those little key 1%ers. But be good to see them. Good to see them get a win on the board at some stage. But,
I mean, and also what struck me is it seems like a very young side. We talked about the under-18s coming through, and there's a lot of talent there. And at some point, they're going to be going into that senior level, and they've got to learn the hard way, don't they? You know, and the more that they play together, I mean, obviously the difficulty is in that age group is that they leave the region and they go to universities or what have you. So it's always going to be a challenge, but there's only one way to learn, and that's to go in the paddock and give them a crack. So,
yeah. Well, I don't think that spirits are down. I think
That's
that
good.
their heads are up, and we wish them well against the Tiger Spirit. And of course, you guys are jumping on a plane on Friday, tomorrow. You've got a game against Counties Manukau up there at Pukekohe.
Yeah,
So
no,
you're looking forward to that?
Yeah, looking forward to that one. I mean, it was a quick pat on the back after that Canterbury one, and then you're only as good as your next game. We can't go up there, take it light, cruise through the motions. We lose to Counties, and that Canterbury wins pretty much pointless.
Yeah,
So,
and Counties Manukau,
oh,
they're not going to be taking it lightly either. I mean, there is a tough side, aren't
they
they?
got some good athletes. Play a lot different from Canterbury. They're going to throw the ball around. They're not going to kick it. They're going to run from their 22. So it's one of those games. I mean, you just have to bring it mentally. I like where we're at. We had a good training today. It was messy, but that's kind of how counties play. And once again, our non-23 set us up nicely. So I like where we're at.
Good luck. All right, wish you all the best of luck, and presumably it'll be televised, Les. So keep an eye on that.
Absolutely.
2:05 on Saturday. So and 11:35 for the girls on Sunday. So good luck to all. It's nice to be in the middle of the season, isn't it, Les? So you're at the Mako Rugby Roundup. Let's talk about growing up in Marlborough in the Stewart family. And your dad, Bull, was a legendary figure around Central and Marlborough Red Devils rugby. So what are your earliest and best memories of watching Bull at work?
To be honest, I was one of those kids that couldn't really sit down and watch a game of rugby when I was about 10. I was
You'd be down the back?
Yeah, I was down the back throwing a ball around with whoever, playing tackle. I do remember ball boying a game for Tasman. I would have been 10, 11. That was pretty cool, sort of get in and around the group. But no, I always remember my old man as someone who was tough, someone who loved to carry the ball, was a hard worker, but yeah, like I said, not a heap of memories of actually watching rugby. I think my old lady sort of struggled to keep me sit down for too long.
So you're one of those blokes on the embankment.
Yeah, I was
down the hill.
I was coming back to mum dirty as anything for the after match.
Oh, that's cool in itself. That's a good memory.
And it's funny, isn't it, when you watch, like on Saturday we're playing Canterbury, massive game, and yet all the kids.
Yeah, that was my nephew. That was my nephew down there doing.
They're all running around the park,
Yeah,
aren't
that
they?
was
They just want to kick a ball around.
That's
And
right.
and for you, was there any escape? Was it always going to be rugby?
I've always it's always sort of been rugby.
What do you do in summer?
What's that?
Do you play anything in summer?
I used to play cricket. Played cricket at school, a little bit after school, bit of touch. But no, it's sort of since I've left school, I sort of threw all my eggs into rugby. Yes, sort of always really been rugby in our house.
And what about at school? Did you always want to make the Marlborough Boys College first 15? Was that a goal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Marlborough Boys played my first 15 at year 11. I was a skinny little runty flanker. Sort of was one of those kids that always was told you're too small. Probably try to change position. Got a lot of you should play halfback, you should play this, play that. But I just loved playing flanker. I just couldn't do it. And played 3 years at Marlborough Boys. We won the Press Cup in year 12, which was the first for Marlborough Boys and never had happened. We played Nelson actually in Blenheim.
Yes, you did.
And a rainy old day. It was probably the worst conditions I've ever played rugby in, but it suited us. That's probably some of not the best rugby I've played, but some of the best memories playing rugby. We weren't by any means the most talented team or anything like that, but we were together every day. We went to school. We were real tight. We had so many trips to Christchurch. It's still like that, you play every other week and you're in Christchurch. You're with the boys. So it's some of the best memories are never forget about those days.
Yeah,
To this day, a highlight of my career.
yeah.
Absolutely. I remember watching that down in Southland. It was on TV, and you guys got that win. And Atu Molly was the captain. And it was wonderful to see you guys celebrate, because you certainly did. You then went to senior club level, where you played and captained the Central Premier team, mate. So what age did you first get selected for the seniors? Was it straight out of college?
Yeah, straight out of college. First year out of college. Played my first few games off the bench, and then managed to get a start. Still pretty small. I know the body took a bit of a whacking getting used to it, but Central has done a lot for me. Still there, obviously. Still trying to give back a bit more with a little bit more coaching and those sorts of things now that I'm a bit older. But it's a great club. It's cool to see how far we've come, because my first few years at Central was, hey, we would come over to Nelson and just get pants every weekend, like 60, 70 points, to turn it around and achieve, winning a few titles, being in the mix again this year. So it's pretty cool to see for not just us players, but like the older boys. They still have a big influence in and around the club room. So that's been cool.
Yeah, well, it is. You're a very good club. I say that. Quinton McDonald, of course, is a talisman over there, and there's just so many good. Mitch Smith, the way he guides you around the park, all sorts of people who are just quality club rugby players. You also got selected for the Tasman Mako at a young age. You were just 19 in 2016. What was that lift in standard like from club to MPC for a small runty guy?
Yeah, I sort of got picked that year, and they sort of told me like, look, you're probably not going to play. We want to bring you in. We see you someone in the future playing for Tasman. You need to get in the gym twice a day. So that's what my days looking back at that were like. It's just being a tackle mat, soaking it up and just being in the gym trying to get a bit of size
So
on.
who are the guys there in 7 and 6 back
So
then?
Shane Christie was still around.
Your skipper.
Yeah. He was someone I looked up to anyway before then, and then the kind of guy he was when I come in, sort of took me under his wing a little bit, and he didn't obviously get professionally till he was a lot older, so he had a lot of knowledge, and he was a great person to have for me. He was just someone who cared about the region, cared about the team, just so passionate. And then I ended up debuting that year because it was an injury in a walkthrough. Pete Samu,
man.
yeah, he tweaked his neck, and I was the next guy up, and ended up playing against North Harbour up there, and Marty Banks kicked a penalty right on full time to draw it.
So your debut was a draw.
Oh, I got on and I gave a penalty away straight away. And all I could think about, did he just hear Leon McDonald in the back of my head? Yeah, it wasn't the greatest start to my professional career,
but look at the guys that you're under. I mean, Christian, Samu, and so who was Blackadder around then?
Yep,
he was, and who was our other mate? It's not playing any.
Jordan Talfor.
Oh right, yeah,
Liam Squire.
Liam Squire. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I've had
There's some cattle there, isn't there?
I had probably 2 or 3 years with Tasman where I played two games the whole season.
Yeah.
There was about 3 New Zealand Lucies, and then we had the likes of Jordan Talfor coming off the bench, it was the depth there was crazy, but it was awesome for me to learn off those guys. I think when I first came in, I didn't know how to be professional. I played rugby because I liked it. I didn't know the little 1%ers of things. I sort of played rugby because I liked the tick boxes and learned a lot off those guys. Yeah.
You had some time to mark a game time up to 2020, then you missed 2021 season, but then came back in 2022 and captain central to a Tasman trophy title as well. That would have been a pretty big highlight for you.
Yeah, it was a weird year. I always thought we had a good team that year, and then Quinton come back and started coaching, had new ideas. Obviously, really well respected person, not just in Melbourne but in Tasman. We never actually discussed winning it. Never thought about winning the Tasman Trophy, and then weeks just went by, and we sort of beat this team by 40, and then the next team by 50, and I just keep going, and then sort of remember looking around after one game, and someone's like, "Oh, we just won the Tasman Trophy this year, eh, lads?" It was weird, and then our team honestly was that good that I didn't have to worry about being the captain. I didn't have to, the C was next to my name, but everyone knew what they were doing. We had good belief in the group. It was a great thing for us, but it was a great thing for Central. It was a great thing for Blenheim. Like, the turnout that day was something we hadn't seen in a long time. You know what it's like, you get a few wins and the crowd gets a little bit bigger, and then to have the home final was pretty cool.
You made the Mako team that year, but again, you missed the 2023 season with a leg injury. So you've had some ups and downs with your Mako career to do with injury. So tell us about the challenge and the work that you've done in rehab. How hard was that?
Yeah, my journey, to be honest, has been tough.
Yeah.
Real tough. Sort of plenty of times got my foot in the door, and then something's happened. I missed my first full season. I missed with my shoulder. 2020 I'd had injuries and I had surgeries, but that one, sort of the self-doubt sort of starts creeping in. I wasn't signed with Tasman, so I had nothing, which is another stress factor, and then got through that, and then that next year, we won the Tasman Trophy with Central. I'd got in the best shape of my life. Like I said before, I didn't know how to be a professional when I was younger, and then sort of got injured, and it was rough. I took it to heart, and then it just got to a point where I was like, "Well, what do you want to do? You can sit around and be sorry about having a surgery on your shoulder, or are you gonna keep back training, get it done?" And then played just about every game that year for Tasman, which was weird. I didn't have a contract that year. They sort of said to me, "Oh, you're there or thereabouts. We don't have a contract for you." I took that personal again. I was like, "Oh," I went for a wee phase. I was like, "Oh, like, it's just not working out for me." And then something just happened with me. I was just like, you just got to play that good that they have to pick you, sort of thing. And played a few preseason games, played well. And then played that. I think I started 8 games that year. Was my first year of just starting games and just playing week in and week out. It was the best year of my rugby life. I think I won Defender of the Year for Tasman that year. Was learning how to play professional footy week in and week out. Then after that, I come back, play club the next season, and I do my knee real early. Did my ACL, LCL, and meniscus, and
Jeez.
it was one of those ones that you can't do anything about. It just happened. Someone just come around the ruck, trapped my leg. Once again, put my foot in the door. Was signed for that year with Tasman, and just like that,
Yeah.
Once
Your
again,
mental toughness has really learned to grow, hasn't it?
yeah. Probably took. If I'm to be honest, took that one to heart again. Just it's hard. You feel hard done by because you're like, I've put this work in, but that's rugby. That's the game we play.
So I know you've got to pick yourself up, but who picks you up as well?
My mum is
Your
pretty
mum.
massive for me. Like a lot of this is about my dad and my sister, and rightly so. But for me, I wouldn't be here without my mum. She those days where you think no one's there for you, and you know what rugby's like. You get an injury and you feel forgotten about because there's the next kid coming up, and there's this guy and that guy. And my mum was always someone who she felt bad for me, but she always tried to keep a positive mindset. So yeah, my mum's a massive factor in all of
Yeah,
that.
interesting, isn't it? Shout out to the mums.
Yeah. What's your
They
mum's
do,
name?
yeah.
Kelly.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Well, big shout out to you, Kelly, because you've raised a good boy here. And a fine young man, Carfi, you are now. So apologies to you, Kelly, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the rugby players in the family.
She'll be used to that, won't she?
Yeah, she's the behind the scene hero.
Yeah, and that's so cool to hear. That is so cool to hear. So you've got Dad Bull, Mark, is Mako number 16. So he was on the bench for the very first Mako game. And then you're Mako number 50. And now this year, this is a really cool story, Chris. Your sister, Courtney, is playing for the Tasman Mako in the Farah Palmer Cup, becoming Mako number 115 for them. So I've done a little bit of research. And this is a New Zealand first.
Oh, it is definitely.
To have father, son, daughter play at the highest provincial level. So I'm going to just say, how proud are you as a family unit on this achievement?
I didn't know there was a whole New Zealand thing. I definitely thought, that'll be a first for Tasman. Look, it's pretty cool. I'm so stoked for my sister. She's had a pretty tough run too, but similar story, but she's just turned 30 and this is her first year. So, that takes a lot of no's. You're not good enough, or you're there or thereabouts, but you're not quite there. So it's pretty cool to see her stick it out and get rewarded sort of later on in her career, shows that she has the toughness to really stoked for her, We're really tight, we're really close. I live with her back in home, with her couple of kids and that. So so stoked for her. I can't say that enough.
Yeah. How's that?
Yeah, and what position is
She's a flanker too.
She's a flanker for the Rotary Club, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So, she's a flanker. She's playing a little bit of lock for Tasman. But
And what club side was your father with?
he was Polaris.
Oh, was he? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so he was Polaris back in the day when they had the field over by the trout.
Yeah,
I
that's
do remember the odd game out there and
'Cause
the
that-
sheep be on the paddock.
Marfell, and also I'm pretty sure, pretty much my father-in-law, Red Sangster, he played for Polaris because they talk about those days where they had to get the sheep off the field, and of course that's if it wasn't underwater, that. In fact, I've met quite a few people played for Polaris, and that's why I guess the trout is so famous because there would have been a few big nights there back in their day.
Now, Chris, you just might need to get ready to edit this segment if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But Ben Finau, Courtney's hubby,
Yeah.
Did he play for the Mako?
Yeah, he's played for the Tasman Mako too.
You've got a
Yeah.
son-in-law born.
Yeah, so
That makes it even bigger story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
that's my sister's husband. He's
Yeah.
played for Tasman too.
Yeah, halfback.
How's
Yeah,
that?
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I just
yeah.
recalled that.
Yeah. Yep.
4 of you.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, very cool. We've talked about the Canterbury game and also a bit about what you expect from the game against Counties Manukau. Any team updates, Les? Do we know who's in and around?
Well, I know Carthy's starting at 7. Yeah, so the team will be out on your Tasman Mako social media channels.
Yeah.
A strong team. A couple of people having not travelling that probably have a couple of injuries or niggles that they've got to get over, but in the main, a really good team. We welcome back Antonio Shalfoon.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
A couple of debutantes on the trip. So yeah, it's going to be a.
Did we say Christie was injured?
He's got
just
a week
small-
off.
He's got the week off,
Yeah.
so resting up.
Yeah.
So who comes in at number 9?
Louis Chapman's at 9, and then
Mason
Mason Lund will make his debut.
Oh, wow. What club's he with?
Stoke.
Stoke. Oh, yeah. They've had a pretty good year, Stoke, haven't
Yeah.
they?
Yep.
He's a
Yeah.
good kid, Lundy. So he's sort of one that's been in and around for a few years too. So it's always cool seeing those guys finally get a chance.
Okay, well, good luck this weekend. Okay. Next week, Saturday, August 31st, it's a return to Blenheim for an NPC and FPC double. Courtney's FPC team plays at 4:35 against Manawatu, and then your NPC match against Bay of Plenty at 7:05.
Yeah.
So hopefully all the family's going to be there. So there's going to be you two playing plus all your family as well. So must be looking forward to that as a family.
Yeah. Haven't thought about that too much yet. Obviously got to start this weekend. So
Yeah.
my focus has been on just preparing every day. Haven't started a game for Tasman in a few years. So that will be cool. Looking forward to it now. Like it'll be cool for the likes of my mum and my sister's kids. All the immediate family will be pretty cool.
And you've got the Central Club and presumably more families and friends. So
Yeah,
it'll be a big occasion.
there'll be heaps of.
I reckon you'd be running upstairs to get more tickets. mate.
Yeah, I better get on to Hugh soon about that, I guess, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's club day over there for the
fantastic.
Marlborough club. So just going to be an outstanding occasion, but a truly wonderful family occasion for the Stewarts.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, thank you very much. Will Carthy, great to meet you, mate. Fantastic to hear about his story. And also to be part of the podcast where we've broken a record on New Zealand provincial rugby, and also the big news about Leon McDonald as well. So it's been great to have you part of this, and also just get a bit of insight. It's always nice to get an insight, not only about club footy, what rugby players personally have to go through to play at that level. The challenges and mental challenges that you have to go through, but of course the inside scoop on what the boys are feeling like in the Mako camp. But at the moment, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, no, it does feel good.
Yeah,
it's a good group of boys. It's a little bit different. We've lost the likes of Mitch, Alex Nankable, who are big key players, not just players but leaders and sort of people that have paved the way a little bit in Tasman the last couple of years. So it's good though, Willie gets to step up, have his chance.
Will Butler stepped
Will
up.
Butler, he's a great dude, old Will. He's fed in real well. So no, it's good. It's a good feeling. The intensity of, like I said before, of the non-23 this year. There's some good young players that don't mind bringing a little bit of niggle at training, getting the boys ready. So I like where we're at. Just take it day at a time. It's been good.
good stuff. Thank you, Carthy. Appreciate you
bud.
coming in. All
Thank
the
you very
best
much.
for this weekend.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Les. Another big weekend.
Yeah,
It's
well,
the best time of the year for you, isn't it?
I do love it, but I'm particularly looking forward to seeing the 205 game on Saturday, watching
Yeah.
you guys run around. best wishes, Scarfy, for
Thanks, Les,
for
appreciate
a
it.
top trip.
Yeah.
And come home with the bacon.
Thank you. Thank you very much for listening. That's another edition for the Mako Rugby Roundup. Our thanks to the Turf Hotel for their ongoing support. You can catch this and other podcasts on talknelson.co.nz, on our social media channels, and also on Spotify. Just look for MBS Talk Nelson. Thank you. We'll see you again next week.
The Mako Rugby Roundup. What's on, where, and when. It's the Talk of Nelson. NBS Talk Nelson.